Thanks, Christina, and thanks everybody for being at the meeting today. I appreciate it, and guests. I am a residential real estate appraiser. And what that means is I can appraise homes, 1 to 4 family homes. When you get to 5 units and more, that becomes a commercial appraisal. I can do some mixed-use properties if you have a store on the bottom and apartments upstairs, as long as the storefront isn't more than 49% of the building. I'm qualified to do those types of properties. That's what a residential appraiser is versus a commercial appraiser. Some of the types of appraisals that I do are estate appraisals. Estate appraisals are when somebody in the family passes on. Mother might have been in the house for a number of years, mother passes on or goes to a retirement home, and the family now has this house. What are they going to do with it? Sometimes there's still a child living at home, so they'll stay in the house. And the house will remain in that family until they decide to sell it. They need to settle that estate. That could be a year later, 2 years later, sometimes it's 5, 6, 7, 8 years later. And I recently just did one. The person passed away 7 years ago, and I was able to do an appraisal based on the date of death. So I went back 7 years and put a value on that house from 7 years ago. And it was in the city of Buffalo. So a lot of the family members were disappointed because they saw what was happening to the values in the city of Buffalo, how they had been increasing. But this appraisal was for an estate purpose, so it was as of date of death. 7 years ago on West Ferry is a much different value than today's dollar on West Ferry. So a couple of the family members were a little taken aback by the number, but that was the number. There's nothing I can do about it. It's as of the date of death on an estate appraisal. Makes it a little more difficult, but I've been in the industry a long time. So I remember those neighborhoods 7 years ago. That wasn't that long ago to me. That was a cup of coffee ago, you know. So, and I do have the software to go back that far, to put an accurate number on it. Another type of appraisal that I do are divorce appraisals. Couples are breaking up, they own a property, what are they going to do with it? Sometimes one of the two parties want to keep the house, if they can afford to, but they have to buy the other side out. It becomes very difficult. Divorce appraisals are one of the most difficult appraisals to do because these two people are at an odds. And so one thinks it's worth $1 amount, the other one thinks it's worth another $1 amount. So they need to get it appraised to find out what it's actually worth. So that's what I'll do. I'll come in and appraise the property for what I think it's worth. Sometimes the one side will have their own appraiser come through. So I might be the second one in. And the two numbers are going to vary a lot of times. There's no exact number. It's an opinion of value. When I go and look at your house, it's my opinion of value. You're hiring me based on my experience, what I know about that neighborhood, what I know about the quality of houses in those neighborhoods, and what's happening in those neighborhoods. How are the values going? Are they going up? Are they going down? Or are they staying the same? So on a divorce situation, it's a touchy situation. Sometimes I don't even have access to get into that house. So I have to do everything based on an exterior inspection, which is okay, I can do that, you know, but I have to state that in my appraisal, this was an exterior inspection only. Divorce appraisals a lot of times go to court. So I'll be in court, there'll be another appraiser in court, and our numbers are different. And the judge will order a third appraiser to come in. And a lot of times he'll look at the two numbers, get that third appraisal, see where he fits in. Well, why are the numbers all over the place? Why am I at 100,000 and this other appraiser at 150,000 and the third appraiser at 125,000? Why are they? Because there's always a range in value. It's an opinion. So they will ask me questions in court. What is my experience? How long have I been in the industry? I've been in the industry since 1984. I started in the appraisal industry before there was even licensing in New York State. Licensing didn't come by until around 1989, 1990. So they'll ask me about my experience. What do I know about that neighborhood? Did I ever live in that neighborhood? It could be in East Aurora. No, I've never lived in East Aurora. I've appraised in East Aurora over the years. Here's a basic number of houses I've done in East Aurora. This is my experience. So those are the things that we're looking for on divorce appraisals. I do tax assessment challenges. I got a question today about a tax assessment challenge. Towns assess properties, and they'll normally send you a letter when they're going to reassess you. You'll get a letter stating, just because we're reassessing you doesn't mean we're going to raise your taxes. That's not always true. They normally are going to raise your taxes. So that's why it's important to know the value of your house to make sure that that assessor is accurate. So there's a lot of different variables that go into appraising a house. So today I put colored pieces of paper around the table just to show about location. This is what we're looking for when we're going to do an appraisal. What is the color of your home? When you're driving through a neighborhood and you got blue, 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 pink, that just happened to be where you sat. Pink, blue, blue. You know, somebody's going to look at that pink house and they're going to say, I'm not buying that one. You know, they like the neighborhood, but they're not going to buy that house because it's pink. But what if you're not, that house is already bought, somebody is living there, and this one is up for sale? Most home buyers are going to come into that neighborhood and they're going to strictly look at this house. They're not thinking about what's around them. So as an appraiser, I try to teach them, not only look at what you're buying. If this is the house we're buying, look at the two houses on each side of you. How do your neighbors live? Because they affect your value. What do the houses across the street look like? How do they conform to the neighborhood? That's very important, because every time you walk out your door, you're going to see those houses there. Will that bother you living in a blue house to see a pink house, a green house, a yellow house, an orange house across the street? It might, but it affects your value. Just like when you paint your house, you affect your neighbor's value. When you don't cut your grass, you affect your neighbor's value. I have to take those things into account as an appraiser. And one of the things when you're looking at a house, and real estate agents will tell you, and Dan's a real estate agent, he'll point out the beautiful new windows. Look at the new windows. This house has high-end Pella windows. Great, we love it. You know what I tell them? Look out the window. Look in your neighbor's backyards. Look out that second floor window and see what's in their neighborhood. And recently that happened to my niece when she was looking at a house, and I made her look out the window. And I asked the homeowner, gee, the guy next door has a beautiful pool and nice lights. I asked the homeowner, and the homeowner says, oh yeah, the neighbor's great. All summer long they have parties in their backyard. And the guy put up spotlights so they can swim all night long. You know? They loved it. That was part of their neighborhood. My niece has little kids. They don't want to live next door to a guy having a party all night long with spotlights in their backyard. You know? But it was important that I had her look out the window. It was important that she saw how the neighbors lived. Don't just look at the property you're thinking about purchasing. Look at the neighborhood. That's what an appraiser does. Those are important factors in determining value. They not only determine value, they determine how long that house is going to sit on the market before it sells. I have a house next door that's a party house. Do you think that realtor will tell the next person that the guy next door parties all summer long? Absolutely not. But it's important to talk to people. It's important to drive through the neighborhood, drive around the block, take a look. Take a look at what's happening. What are your neighbors like? What is your house like? Before you even walk in, that's what an appraiser does. He determines value. That's what I do. That's how an appraisal works. So I know I'm wrapping up here now, but thank you everybody for listening. I'm glad I got you to stay awake. And hopefully you learned a little bit of something. Best clients for me are attorneys, divorce attorneys, estate attorneys, or anybody who owns a home who wants to know their value. Thank you.